You mentioned the possibility of things going a bit static for Russia. I mean, certainly around those eastern and southern areas for a time, as potentially, I guess, as they start to regroup. But what opportunities does that give the Ukrainians, but also the West, in terms of the limited backing we can provide?
Well, I think very clearly the Ukrainians will continue to need military resources, weapons, equipment, in various different forms and in large numbers, as well as financial backing. They're going to need that, even though the war's gone static. It's very important that that the Ukrainian forces continue to attack Russian forces and to try and force their withdrawal, or at least to put them in as weak a position as possible, so that their terms are not maybe as strong as, and they don't feel in a position to impose as strong terms as they otherwise might. And it's not just about Ukraine. It's also about making Russia feel pain to prevent Putin from further aggression against NATO countries or against other countries. And I think the harder they can be hit, even in a static phase, if that's what we're facing, the better it is. And that's why our support to the Ukrainian army remains very important, and also our economic and financial and other pressures placed on Russia.
NATO leaders, including Boris Johnson and President Biden, are going to be meeting in Brussels on Thursday, later this week. What would be the best case scenario to come out of that meeting, do you think?
Well, I think, quite frankly, there's not much NATO can do about Ukraine apart from what it's doing now, and maybe stepping that up, but not in terms of any real change in direction. I think that's not very likely to happen now. So I think really the main issue should be defending the rest of NATO and ensuring that there's enough forces pushed forward into countries like Romania, Poland, the Baltic states, to be in a position to defend NATO should Putin decide to attack there. Now, the fact that he's maybe bogged down to an extent in Ukraine does not mean he will not look to carry out offensive operations elsewhere. It's probably less likely in the immediate future, but we need to, NATO and the NATO government leaders should be looking really to A, step up their military deployments in Eastern Europe, and B, agree on ways in which Western economies can be weaned rapidly off Russian dependency, particularly energy, oil and gas.